It was a Thursday evening in Los Angeles. The kind of warm, dry night that locals brag about and tourists dream of. Neon lights danced on the polished floors of Studio 8B, while a buzz filled the green room of the nation's top-rated late-night talk show, The Tonight Circuit, hosted by the ever-provocative, always smirking Chase Delaney. Backstage, the next guest of the night quietly sipped on green tea. Keanu Reeves, dressed in his usual all-black charcoal suit, dark boots, subtle cross necklace resting just above his sternum, he was a stark contrast to the synthetic chaos around him. A spiritual monk in the middle of a marketing machine. Keanu didn't do many talk shows anymore, not because he was bitter, just tired. Tired of having to explain the simplicity of kindness like it was an exotic language. But tonight, he'd agreed. Not because of publicity, but because of a quiet promise he'd made long ago. He didn't know that the next 10 minutes of his life would break the internet and shake a generation. Scene 1. The opening blow of the cameras. Rolled. Ladies and gentlemen, Chase Delaney beamed, his usual swagger laced with a grin. My next guest is a man of mystery, motorcycles, and monosyllabic movie quotes. You know him from John Wick, The Matrix, and your mom's daydreams. Give it up for Keanu Reeves. The crowd erupted. Keanu stepped out, offering his usual humble nod, that small wave, that look of, thank you, but don't make this weird. He sat down opposite Chase, legs crossed neatly, hands folded like a thoughtful librarian. Chase wasted no time. So Keanu, he said, leaning in, voice dripping with mock curiosity, I gotta ask, what's with the bling? Keanu blinked. The bling? Chase pointed. That cross necklace. Are you low-key a priest now? Or is this some kind of method acting for John Wick holy vengeance? Laughter rippled through the audience. Too loud. Too forced. Keanu paused, and then he smiled. Not the nervous smile of someone caught off guard. No, it was a patient smile. The kind you give a child who doesn't yet know the weight of their words. Well, Keanu began, voice soft. I suppose that depends on how deep you want to go tonight, Chase. Chase raised an eyebrow. Ooh, is this one of those actor goes philosopher things? Keanu tilted his head. Not at all. Just memory. This cross isn't fashion. It's not Hollywood. It's someone I carry with me. The room shifted. You could feel it. The laughter died down. The audience leaned in. Chase's smirk flickered. Someone you carry with you? Chase asked, unsure now. Keanu nodded slowly. Her name was Lila. Scene 2. The story behind the cross. You ever visit a hospital? Keanu began, his voice not raised for drama but lowered for reverence. Where kids are fighting diseases we don't have names for. Where the walls are painted bright colors to hide how heavy the air is. The audience murmured. Chase went silent. Well, I went to one, Keanu continued. In Toronto. Quiet visit. No cameras. Just to meet a girl named Leela. She was 12. Big smile. Bald from chemo. And when I walked in, she said, Neo's here. Now we'll beat the machines. Soft laughter from the audience. Chase let out a breath. She gave me this, Keanu said, fingers gently brushing the small silver cross. Told me it was her lucky charm. Said it helped her feel brave. And that when she was gone, I should wear it for her. To be brave for her. Chase looked down. The audience? Stone still. Keanu leaned back slightly. She passed away 3 weeks later. I've worn it every day since, not because I'm religious, but because she was. And it meant something to her. Now it means everything to me. Silence. The kind you rarely hear on national TV, even the cameraman forgot to breathe. Scene 3. The rebound. Sort of. Chase tried to recover. Well, damn Keanu, that was Wow. I thought this was going to be a light segment about motorcycles and memes, Keanu chuckled. Life doesn't come with cue cards. Audience, applause. Chase. Guess I just got wicked. More laughter. But Keanu's smile held a different weight. He wasn't angry. He wasn't embarrassed. He was simply there, fully present. Like a still lake reflecting everything back at you. People assume things, Keanu said. Because I don't talk much. Because I don't dress up much. Because I wear a cross and not a Rolex, and that's okay. That's part of being human. But I think sometimes we all need to remember that every accessory someone wears might be a chapter of their story. Chase nodded, eyes now locked. In not with a guest, but with a teacher. Scene 4. After the lights, when the segment ended, the audience gave a standing ovation. Not because of some planned skit, but because they'd witnessed something rare on television. Sincerity without spectacle. Backstage. Chase caught up with Keanu before he left. Hey, listen, Chase said, rubbing the back of his neck. About the joke. Keanu held up a hand. You didn't know. Now you do, Chase blinked. You're really not mad? I'm really not anything, Keanu said. Just grateful you gave me the space to tell the story. Scene 5. 24 hours later. The internet erupts. The clip went viral. At first for all the wrong reasons. Chase Delaney disses Keanu Reeves' necklace. Hashtag cringe. Keanu's comeback to insensitive joke is pure class. Keanu Reeves silences a host with one story about a dying child. Then, things shifted. People started sharing photos of loved ones they lost. Necklaces they wore, tattoos they got in memory. Facebook timelines flooded with stories of keepsakes, grief, and healing. The hashtag what I CARRY began trending. Within 48 hours, a memorial fund for children's cancer in Lila's name had raised $2.7 million. And Keanu? He said nothing. He didn't tweet. Didn't post a selfie with a halo filter. Instead, he sent flowers to Lila's family. In the note, she changed the world. Thank you for letting her shine through me. Scene 6. Final frame. The final viral image came a week later. A photo of Keanu sitting on a park bench in Central Park. Hoodie pulled low, cross necklace just visible. A child nearby is holding a paper daisy chain. Keanu is helping tie it together. The caption read, he didn't need to say anything. He just kept being who he was. The uninvited visitor, 3 years before the world heard about Lila, long before the necklace became a symbol of courage. There was a silent arrival. Keanu was back in Toronto, taking a rare break from filming. The city buzzed with its usual gray skies and polite indifference. He didn't have any premieres to attend, no red carpets to walk, no talk shows to visit. For the first time in months, he had the luxury of anonymity and nothing pressing on. His calendar. Then came a letter, not from a publicist. Not from a studio. It was handwritten. The envelope had a unicorn sticker on the back. In neat, oversized print, to Mr. Keanu Reeves, important, please read. From Dr. Yasmin Lahiri, Princess Grace Children's Hospital. His assistant Cora handed it to him like it was fragile. Inside, the note was simple. Hi Mr. Reeves, my name is Dr. Yasmin. I work with terminal pediatric patients. One of my bravest girls is a huge fan of yours, especially Neo. Her name is Lila. She's not asking for a miracle, just a few minutes. A visit if you're around. She said to tell you she has a gift for you, and also a question she's been saving for someone special. With hope, Dr. Y. Lahiri. Most celebrity letters get buried in piles, but this one? It sat on Keanu's nightstand all night. He read it 3 times. He didn't tell anyone. He didn't announce it to the press. The next morning, he showed up at Princess Grace Children's Hospital in jeans, a flannel, and carrying a bouquet of sunflowers. Scene 2. Meeting Lila room. 408 smelled like bubblegum and antiseptic. Lila was there, propped up with 6 pillows, a knit beanie on her bald head, and stickers on every 4 pump in the room. She was sketching what looked like a unicorn riding a motorcycle. Keanu, knocked gently on the doorframe. You must be the one who summoned the one. She looked up, blinked, and then, oh my gosh, Neo's here, she screamed. But not like a fan, more like someone who just saw a long-lost cousin. She immediately tried to untangle herself from her the 4th lines to run at him, but he held up both hands. Whoa, Agent Smith would be very upset if I let you trip, she giggled. Are you real? I'm beginning to wonder, he said, stepping into the room. He sat down next to her. For 2 hours they talked. About movies, motorcycles, why most people don't believe in unicorns anymore. Why she totally would have taken the red pill. She was electric, one of those kids who hadn't let illness steal her joy, only focused it. She told stories with her hands. Her laugh bubbled like soda. Then she said, I brought you something. From a drawer she pulled out a small velvet pouch. This was my grandma's, she said, placing it in his palm. She said it kept her strong when she had cancer. And then she gave it to me. And now, I want you to have it. Keanu opened the pouch. A delicate silver cross, smoothed with time, with faint floral etchings around the edges. I want you to be brave for me when I can't anymore, Lila whispered. He didn't know what to say. For once, KeanuReeves, the master of silence, couldn't find the right pause. You sure? He asked. She nodded. Just wear it sometimes. When you're sad. Scene 3. The question. As he was about to leave, Lila suddenly grabbed his hand. Wait, she said, eyes wide. I almost forgot. I had a question. One that no one else ever answers right. Keanu knelt by the bed. She looked serious now. Do you think people disappear when they die? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked down at the cross in his hand, then up at her. No, he said. I think they get quieter, but they don't disappear. I think the love they left stays. Loud, she smiled. That's what I thought too. Scene 4. After Lila passed away, 21 days later, Keanu didn't find out through the news or a headline. He received another letter. No unicorn sticker this time. Just a simple white envelope. Inside, a funeral program and a note from Dr. Lahiri. She passed peacefully. Her parents said she kept the TV on the Matrix until her last breath. She told the nurse, Neo has the cross now. I'm not scared. Thank you for giving her that. He didn't speak for the rest of the day. He went for a long ride alone through the Doane Valley Parkway. It was snowing lightly, cold and beautiful. That night, he placed the cross around his neck. He never took it off again. Scene 5. The whisper chain. For the next few years, no one asked about the necklace. Not on red carpets, not in interviews. He dodged the question once with a shrug, another time with, it's a long story. But among the hospital staff of Princess Grace, Lila's story became legend. The little girl who gave her strength to Neo, and the actor who didn't tweet about it, or turn it into a foundation, or market a t-shirt. He just remembered her, quietly, fully. Scene 6. The ripple. Months later, Princess Grace received an anonymous donation to upgrade their pediatric wing. $500. It was marked only for the unicorn room, from someone who believes she never disappeared. The staff knew exactly who it was from. They renamed room 408. They added murals of unicorns and sunglasses riding motorcycles, and a small brass plaque above the bed. Lila's room, for the brave who stay loud. Scene 7. One more visit. 2 years after her passing, Keanu returned. No cameras. No entourage, just a single sunflower in hand. He stood in Lila's old room, now occupied by another child with bright eyes and too many tubes. He didn't talk much, just listened. And before he left, the little boy said, "Hey, is that cross magic or something?" Keanu smiled. "It is if you believe hard enough." The boy laughed. "Cool. I believe in grilled cheese." "That count?" Keanu winked. "Absolutely." The upload the internet wasn't built for nuance. The moment Keanu Reeves left the studio that night after telling the story of a little girl named Layla and the silver cross she entrusted to him, the audience was already halfway through uploading. Phone clips. Angles were shaky, audio uneven, but it didn't matter. The first video hit Twitter within minutes. At MovieMaven86. Did Keanu Reeves just humble the hell out of Chase Delaney live on air? #respect. Attached was a 2-minute clip of the now famous moment. "This cross isn't fashion. It's someone I carry with me." Within an hour, it was on TikTok. By morning, it was everywhere. The algorithms didn't stand a chance. Scene 2. Instant reactions by 9 a.m. #KeanuCross was trending in 17 countries. One YouTuber posted a 12-minute reaction video titled, "The Most Unexpected Moment on Late Night TV, Keanu's Heartbreaking Story." Reddit blew up with threads titled, "I didn't expect to cry at 2 a.m. because of Keanu Reeves. From Matrix to Messiah, Keanu's low-key a prophet. The necklace, the girl, the silence, perfection." But as always with the internet, not everyone was there for the vibes. Scene 3. The inevitable backlash by the second day, the contrarians arrived. YouTubers with blue-lit studios and suspiciously loud microphones uploaded thumbnails like, "Was Keanu's story real? Or another PR move? Virtue signaling in Hollywood, Keanu's cross debunked." Bloggers dug into hospital records, trying to verify Lila's existence. Anonymous Twitter users questioned the authenticity of the necklace itself. So no photos of the girl? Just a vague story and some tears? I'm not saying he's lying, but ... the sacred mantra of skepticism. I'm not saying he's lying, but... Scene 4. Chase Delaney cancels himself. Then came a twist no one expected. Chase Delaney, the same late night host who joked about the necklace, was now at the center of the backlash. Clips of him laughing at Keanu's cross were looped over dramatic piano music, slowed down like courtroom footage. Memes exploded. Chase, what's with the necklace? Keanu, pain. Internet, execution. The comments were ruthless. Burr thought he was funny until he got baptized on live TV. Chase Delaney, Clown of the Year 2025. He mocked a memory. Let that sink in. Chase tried damage control. He posted a Notes app apology on Instagram. "I never meant to mock something so meaningful. I made a dumb joke." Keanu handled it with grace. "I'm learning." But the internet doesn't forgive instantly. It waits. And it watches. Scene 5. Keanu stays silent through it all. Keanu said, "Nothing. No tweets. No statements. No PR push. Just silence." The kind of silence that was louder than most trending hashtags. Paparazzi caught him at a gas station 2 days later, filling up his motorcycle. Same black jacket, same worn boots. Same cross. When asked by a TMZ reporter if he had a response to the viral chaos, he simply smiled and said, "People will say what they say. I just wear what I carry." And then he wrote off. No exit music. No mic drop. Scene 6. The shift. The internet slowly began to pivot, not because Keanu fought back, but because he didn't. A group of pediatric nurses at Princess Grace posted a TikTok showing the Unicorn Room and its new mural. The caption read, "He never asked for attention. He just showed up when it mattered." #4Lila, A mother of a former patient tweeted, "Keanu visited my daughter when no one else would." There were no cameras, just him and that necklace. He stayed for hours, talked about dogs and clouds. It meant everything. That tweet got 2.4 million likes. Suddenly, the conversation changed. People started sharing their own stories of what they carry. Necklaces from grandmothers, tattoos for lost brothers, shirts that smelled like someone who left. The hashtag what I CARRY resurfaced, and this time, it had teeth. It became a movement. Not about Keanu. But about the quiet keepsakes people wore to remember who they'd loved and who they still were. Scene 7. A little girl in Wyoming, in a small town in Wyoming. A 14-year-old girl named Bree watched Keanu's clip during lunch. She was quiet, smart, liked books more than people. She'd lost her older sister to leukemia 2 years ago. She never talked about it, not even to her parents. But after watching Keanu speak about Lila, something cracked open. That night, she opened her drawer and pulled out her sister's bracelet, the one she hadn't worn since the funeral. Slipped it on. At school the next day, her friend asked, "Hey, cool bracelet." "Where's it from?" Bree smiled. "It's someone I carry." Scene 8. A letter unfolds. Chase Delaney didn't sleep much those few weeks. He kept replaying the joke in his head. Not because he was worried about the internet, but because he realized he had no idea how to be sincere anymore. So he wrote Keanu a letter, not a text, not an email, a real letter. It read, "I forgot how to listen. I forgot that sometimes people don't want to laugh, they want to be heard. I mocked your necklace because I didn't know what to do with your silence. But that night, you reminded me that silence isn't emptiness. Sometimes it's love in disguise. Thank you for that." Chasey didn't expect a reply, but one came 3 weeks later. A postcard. "It's okay to forget. It's brave to remember. I carry her too now." K. Scene 9. The storm clears. By month's end, the storm had settled. The meme factories slowed down. The reaction channels moved on, but something subtle had shifted. More people started wearing their keepsakes visibly. More men talked openly about grief. One TikToker said it best, "You know what? I used to think showing pain made me weak. But if Keanu Reeves can cry on late-night TV and still ride a motorcycle into the sunset, maybe I can show up too." Scene 10. The artifact. The final beat of the viral wave happened when a small exhibit opened at the Toronto Museum of Living Stories. It was called Silent Icons, Artifacts of Personal Courage. Among the items, a dog-eared book of poems from a refugee father, a pair of ballet slippers from a young cancer survivor, and a photo print, just a single black and white frame. Keanu Reeves on a bench. Hood pulled low, a cross glinting in the afternoon sun. The desert and the couch in a dusty corner of Arizona, in a town that didn't even earn a proper dot on Google Maps. A man named Jonah Hart sat on a second-hand couch that groaned like an old horse. He hadn't changed his shirt in 3 days. Half-eaten TV dinner congealed on the coffee table. One sock on, one sock missing in action. He was 32. A former Army medic. And for the past year and a half, he'd been stuck in a sort of purgatory made of insomnia, loud memories, and silences that felt like punishment. The VA called it complex PTSD. Jonah just called it Tuesday. The TV was on, though the volume was low, not because he was listening, just for the illusion that someone else was in the room. Then something caught his eye. Keanu Reeves. Not the Matrix Keanu, not John Wick. Just Keanu sitting on a late-night couch holding a necklace, like it was a piece of someone's soul. Jonah turned up the volume. "It's not fashion. It's someone I carry with me." He sat forward. The words hit like a punch. And then came the part that did him in. When people die, They don't disappear. They just get quieter, but the love they leave stays loud. Jonah froze. And then God help him, he cried. Not pretty tears. Not the soft kind that roll down cinematic cheeks. Ugly ones. From his gut. Scene 2. The reason why Jonah hadn't cried in 5 years. Not since Afghanistan. Not since his best friend, Eli Torres, bled out in the back of a Humvee while Jonah held his hand and whispered lies like, "You're gonna be fine, and you'll see your mom again." Eli had always worn this dumb St. Christopher medal around his neck, swore it brought him luck, swore it kept him alive. After the blast, Jonah had found it in the sand, half melted, chain broken. He kept it, wore it once, then shoved it in a drawer and shut the whole thing away. But now, this movie star, this man who didn't even raise his voice, was on TV, reminding the world that sometimes we carry people not to move on, but to keep them moving with us. Scene 3. The letter. Jonah hadn't written a letter since basic training, and that was under threat of male duty punishment. But that night, he pulled out a lined notebook, the kind kids use for spelling tests, and wrote something that wasn't polished or clever. It was raw. "Dear Mr. Reeves, you don't know me. Probably never will. But I saw you talk about your necklace, and I haven't stopped thinking about it. I lost someone too. His name was Eli. We were soldiers together. I've been angry at God, at myself, at the ground, the sky, the whole damn calendar. But last night, you made something shift. You didn't shout. You didn't preach. You just sat there with your pain and said it out loud. And suddenly, I didn't feel like such a freak for still hurting. Thank you for that. I don't know if this letter will get to you, but if it does, know that someone in Arizona is breathing easier because of you. Sincerely, Jonah Harv." Didn't expect a reply. Hell, he wasn't even sure where to send it. So he mailed it to the studio address listed for Keanu's production company. Then forgot about it. Or tried to. Scene 4. The envelope returns 2 weeks later, while reheating a burrito in his microwave. The doorbell rang. A UPS package. Return address, Beverly Hills, no name. Inside was a small, leather-bound envelope. Tucked inside, a postcard, a note, and something wrapped in tissue paper. The note read, "Jonah, I read your letter. I carry her. You carry him. Maybe that's how the world keeps turning. This is from me. The real me. Not the one on screen. K." Jonah's hands trembled. Inside the tissue paper, a keychain with a tiny silver motorcycle charm. And a cross. Not the cross, but an identical one, with the initials LT etched in the corner, and the back of the postcard, a quote. "Grief is love with nowhere to go until you walk it forward." Unknown. Scene 5. The meeting. 3 months later, in a coffee shop in downtown Flagstaff, Keanu Reeves walked in. No cameras, no fanfare. He nodded at Jonah, who stood awkwardly, still not quite believing any of it was real. "You sure you don't want to be somewhere fancy?" Jonah asked. Keanu smiled. "Places with tablecloths make me nervous." They sat down, ordered black coffee, and talked for 3 hours. About Eli. About Lila. About the kind of sadness that doesn't scream. It just sits in your lungs like fog. Jonah admitted he'd nearly ended it once. Keanu listened. No flinching. No stay strong CLHE acute. Just presence. When they parted ways, Keanu said one thing: keep carrying him. Just don't forget to carry yourself too. Scene 6. Ripples again. Jonah started volunteering at a nearby teen trauma support group. Quietly at first. Just sat in the back, listening. Then one day, a kid asked, "Why do you wear that medal?" Jonah touched the chain. "Because someone brave gave it to me, and I'm trying to be worthy of it." That night, he posted a picture on Instagram. First one in a year. just the metal against his chest. Caption: still carrying, still here. Thanks. K. The post went viral. Again. But this time, no outrage. No noise. Just hundreds of comments like, same here, brother. Different name. Same weight. I carry my dad's wedding ring on a chain. This gave me goosebumps. Grief isn't weakness. It's proof we loved someone right. Scene 7. The tattoo. A year later, Jonah got a tattoo on his shoulder. Simple. Black ink. A cross, a dog tag, a unicorn helmet. And beneath it, still loud. He emailed a photo to the fan mail inbox of Keanu's foundation. He didn't expect anything back. But a week later, a single line came through. Now we both carry her. And him. And whoever comes next. Scene 8. Not just a story in a documentary that premiered at TIFF the following year. Titled What We Carry, there's a scene where Jonah stands in front of a group of teenage trauma survivors. He says, "You don't have to get over it. You just have to get through it. And if it hurts, that's not failure. That's proof you're still connected. Carry them with you. Speak their names. That's not living in the past. That's choosing not to forget the best part of your story." The room goes quiet, and someone claps. Then another. Then a wave. The clip that haunted in a penthouse apartment. 10 floors above Hollywood Boulevard. Chase Delaney couldn't sleep. The city's neon skyline flickered through the cumul, floor-to-ceiling windows like a never-ending marquee. But he wasn't looking at the skyline. He was looking at his phone. Over. And over. And over. So, Keanu, what's with the bling? Is this the Matrix or Sunday school? He hated his own voice in that moment. Not because it was cruel, but because it was careless. He hadn't meant it with malice. It was just another throwaway jab, one of hundreds he delivered on national television over the past decade. His brand had always been sardonic but charming. The guy who could insult you with a wink and somehow get a standing ovation. But this time, he'd misread the moment. And the man, Keanu's response hadn't just flipped the tone, it had flipped. Something inside Chase that he didn't know still worked. Scene 2, PR. Advice versus conscience's publicist wanted a press release. Chase will say you were blindsided, that you deeply respect Keanu, that it was a poorly executed joke. We'll add some soft language about personal growth. Maybe donate to a pediatric hospital in his name. We'll smooth it out. He nodded. Then deleted the draft she sent. He didn't want to smooth it out. He wanted to feel the edges. The jagged, uncomfortable corners of what it meant to get it wrong. Publicly, spectacularly. Scene 3. A mirror named Keanu. A week after the interview. Chase was eating scrambled eggs at 2 p.m., the new breakfast of champions, when his phone buzzed. Blocked. Number. He picked it up. Chase? The voice was familiar, soft, slightly gravelly. Keanu? Hey, Keanu said. Got your letter, the real one. Chase almost choked on his eggs. You read it? Yeah. Long pause. I don't know what I expected, Chase finally sighed, but I was pretty sure I wasn't going to get a call from Neo. I'm at Neo, Keanu said simply. He's braver than me. But I figured you weren't looking for a soundbite. You're looking for something real. I'm trying, Chase admitted, but real's hard when you've made a living out of being on. Then maybe it's time to be off, Keanu said. Off script. Off brand. Just off. Another pause. Then, want to come with me to the hospital next Friday? Chase blinked. Wait, hospital? Yeah, Princess Grace. I visit when I can. Thought maybe you could meet some of the people behind the necklace. Scene 4. The visit Friday. Chase wore his best attempt at not trying too hard. Jeans, a nondescript hoodie, sneakers that hadn't been white since the Obama administration. The kids at Princess Grace didn't care who he was. They didn't. even recognize him at first. They were too busy being amazed that Keanu Reeves knew all their names, remembered their dogs, and brought banana muffins from a bakery in Pasadena because you said the hospital ones are fake. Chase followed him. Room to room. No cameras. No jokes. Just presence. In room 408, the unicorn room, Keanu introduced him to Maya, age 11, who was getting her third round of chemo that month. "This is my friend Chase," Keanu said. "He tells jokes for a living." Maya lit up. "Tell me one." Chase hesitated. He was used to roast battles, celebrity zingers, not this. But he knelt beside her and said, "Why don't skeletons fight each other?" "Why?" "Because they don't have the guts." She laughed so hard she snorted apple juice. Keanu leaned over and whispered, "See? Still got it." Scene 5. The shift. They spent 4 hours at the hospital. Chase didn't check his phone once. On the drive back, he said, "I don't know what just happened, but I think that's the first time I felt real in years." Keanu didn't say anything, just nodded. Sometimes silence is the best response to an awakening. Scene 6. The call to action. The next week, Chase opened his show with something he'd never done before. No monologue. No celebrity gossip. Just a chair, a spotlight, and a letter. "Last month," he began, "I made a joke that hurt someone. I didn't mean it to, but intent isn't always enough. Impact matters." He unfolded the letter Keanu had sent him back. He read it aloud. Then he told the story of Lila. Of room 408. Of Maya's banana muffin snort laugh. Then he made a promise. "I'm not retiring." "Don't get excited," he said, smiling slightly. "But I am changing things. Starting next month, we're dedicating part of this show to stories like Lila's. Stories about what people carry and who they carry. No jokes, no spin, just real people and real love." Scene 7. The world reacts. Again. The segment went viral. But not for the usual reasons. There were no memes. Just messages. One comment read, "Did Chase Delaney just uncancel himself by actually learning from something?" Another, "Okay, this man just turned a national oops into a platform for stories that matter." I'm shook. Keanu, for his part, said nothing. But the next time he visited Princess Grace, Maya had a gift for him. A drawing. Of Keanu. And Chase, wearing capes, and banana muffins as utility belts. Scene 8. Full circle. 6 months later, Chase sat in a cafe across from Jonah Hart, the veteran from Arizona. "I saw your episode," Jonah said. "Didn't think I'd ever say this, but you made me tear up with a monologue. That's a first." Chase grinned. "Me too. First time I ever said something worth crying about." Jonah handed him a patch, a stitched unicorn riding a motorcycle. "No. One gets through this alone," Jonah said. "Welcome to the team." Scene 9. Legacy in motion. Chase's show rebranded the following year. The Delaney Hour? Stories that carry us. The first guest on the new format? Keanu Reeves. The set was quiet, tasteful. Keanu wore the cross. Chase wore the patch Jonah gave him, stitched discreetly on the inside of his blazer. "Thanks for coming back," Chase said. "Thanks for helping me carry them." Keanu replied. Keanu and the cliffside in the hills just above Big Sur is a trail few tourists know. It's steep, dusty, and ends with a sudden view that feels too wide for the human mind to hold. The cliffs drop off sharply into the ocean, waves below crashing like slow thunder. Keanu walked that trail alone every year. Same boots, same black hoodie, same cross. This year, the air was crisp. Salt and eucalyptus. He carried no phone. Just a single sunflower in one hand and a battered paperback copy of Leaves of Grass in the other. He stopped at the same spot as always, where the trail curves around an outcrop of ancient stone and looks out over the Pacific like the edge of the known world. He didn't speak. He just stood. Some people journal, some meditate. Keanu stood, for hours, listening to the silence. Scene 2. The world's noise. Fade since that interview, his life had shifted again, not in a Hollywood way. No new movies. No press tours. The world had started seeing him less as the guy from John Wick and more as some odd, gentle prophet who just happened to know Kung Fu. He got asked to speak at universities, offered book deals. People wanted him to write a memoir. Tell us how you survived. Tell us what Lila meant. Tell us how to carry grief with grace. But every time someone asked, he said the same thing: I'm still learning. Scene 3. The woman on the bench. One afternoon, he sat in a park in Oakland, feeding peanuts to a squirrel who had decided they were now best friends. An older woman sat beside him. She didn't recognize him or didn't care. She wore thick glasses and carried a notebook full of scribbles. After a while, she said, I lost my daughter 20 years ago. Still carry her. Keanu nodded. My sister, he said. They sat in silence again. Just the breeze and the squirrels and the world spinning quietly behind them. Then she asked, Does it ever stop hurting? He shook his head. But it changes. It goes from being a knife to being a thread. You learn to live woven into it. She scribbled that down. That's good. Woven into it. Then she handed him a caramel candy and walked away. Scene 4. The home he keeps empty. Keanu owns a cabin in the mountains. Not listed on any maps. No cell reception. No internet. He goes there to reboot. No security. No entourage. Just books. A coffee maker that wheezes like it's dying, and a single photo of Lila on the mantel drawn in crayon, given to him by her mother a year after her passing. She's on a unicorn, obviously, with sunglasses, and a giant K on her cape. Underneath it, a caption written in her handwriting: Keanu and Lila save the world. Scene 5. Ghosts in the morning light at the cabin. He writes letters he never sends. To his sister. To Layla. To the people he's lost and the people he wishes he could have saved. He burns most of them in the fire. Not out of sadness, out of ritual. Grief, he once told Jonah in a letter, is a ceremony, not a condition. Sometimes he wakes up early just to watch the light move across the kitchen floor. It feels like proof that time still exists, that the world keeps shifting, even if your heart feels frozen in one place. Scene 6. A letter to himself. One morning, he found an old envelope addressed to K.R. Inside was a note he had written to himself 10 years ago. Don't let this make you hard. Let it hollow you out if it must, but then fill yourself with something kinder. If you must wear the weight, make it look like light. He folded it back up. Put it in his coat pocket. He would carry it until it disintegrated. Scene 7. The museum visit. The Toronto Museum of Living Stories had invited him for a private viewing of the exhibit that had taken on a life of its own. Silent icons. He almost didn't go, but curiosity and a kind letter from Lila's parents brought him back. There, under a glass case, was a replica of the necklace. The real one, of course, was still around his neck. Beside it, a photo of Lila. Next to her, a short quote: I gave it to him so he'd be brave when I couldn't be. Keanu stood in front of that case for a long time. A security guard nearby said quietly, That necklace has made a lot of people feel less alone. Keanu turned to him and smiled. So did she. Scene 8. The Philosophy of Stillness. A few months later, a journalist from The Atlantic convinced him to do a sit-down interview for a piece called Grace in the Age of Grief. One question stood out. You've become a symbol of quiet strength. What do you think people misunderstand about stillness? Keanu thought for a long time, then said, stillness isn't the absence of motion. It's the motion you don't see. It's what happens underneath. The way trees root. The way wounds close. The way people carry what they can't say out loud. The journalist cried, not because it was poetic, but because it was true. Scene 9. The dog, the child, and the cross. One foggy morning in San Francisco, he saw a little boy trip while walking a golden retriever twice his size. The boy scraped his knees but didn't cry. Keanu helped him up. The boy sniffled, looked at his necklace and said, "Is that your lucky charm?" Keanu smiled. "It's more like my reminder." "Of what?" "Of someone brave." The boy nodded. "I have a lucky sock. I wear it even when it smells." "That's brave too," Keanu said. The boy beamed and ran off. Keanu stood there a minute longer, touching the necklace. Scene 10. No goodbye. Just echoes. He never gave the cross away. Never donated it. Never locked it up. Because it wasn't a relic. It was a rhythm, something that reminded him of the heartbeat beneath all the noise. The love that hadn't disappeared, just gotten quieter. One day, someone asked him how he wanted to be remembered. He said, "Not remembered, just useful, while I'm here." The exhibit opening, there were no red carpets, no velvet ropes, no press passes, just a line of people, young and old, black and brown and pale and in between, in sneakers and suits and everything else life made people wear. A quiet, weaving line. In front of the newly renovated Gallery of Living Stories, at the Toronto Museum. At the heart of the exhibit sat a single item, a small, silver cross, resting in a suspended, rotating glass case, lit gently from above, etched into the base of the display. Not for religion, for remembrance. Below that, a plaque simply read, "This cross belonged to actor Keanu Reeves, but it came from Lila Thompson, age 12. She gave it to him to be brave when she couldn't be. It became a symbol for the things we carry: love, grief, courage, and each other." Scene 2. The private tour. Keanu hadn't wanted a ceremony. The museum insisted on at least a private preview. He arrived early, before the crowd, alone. The director greeted him nervously, like one might greet a lion who's known for being calm but still has fangs. Keanu, in jeans and boots, looked around the room. Quietly. Took it all in. There were sketches from pediatric cancer patients, letters, drawings, photos of people with necklaces, bracelets, tattoos, artifacts of memory. The exhibit wasn't about him. It was about what he had carried and what others had started carrying too. As he reached the cross, he stood still. He looked at it like he was seeing it for the first time, like it had its own pulse, its own gravity. He whispered, "Thank you, Lila." And then he turned and walked to the gallery's far wall, where a mural stretched 30 feet high, a mosaic made from over 10,000 photos, submitted by fans. Strangers, children, soldiers, survivors, from afar. It looked like a simple image. Keanu and a little girl on a motorcycle. Up close. It was a million pieces of grief and memory stitched into one act of defiance. We remember. Scene 3. Jonah returns. 3 days later. Jonah Hart arrived. Not for fanfare. He came because it felt right. He stood in front of the necklace for a long time, wearing Eli's dog tag around his neck, and that same unicorn patch on his jacket. A teenager walked up beside him. Maybe 16. Hoodie. Slouched posture. "Cool necklace," the kid said, nodding at the display. Jonah chuckled. "You have no idea." Then the kid looked at him. "You carry someone?" Jonah nodded. "You?" The kid hesitated. "My brother. Died in a car crash last year. I wear his ring sometimes. It barely fits." Jonah smiled. "Then you're doing it right." Scene 4. Maya's speech. The museum eventually held a quiet panel, no press allowed. One of the speakers was Maya, now 15, taller, stronger. Her hair was growing back in curls. She stood at the podium with a unicorn pin on her jacket and said, "I was in room 408 when I met Keanu Reeves. He didn't make me feel like a patient. He made me feel like a person who mattered." And that's what this necklace is about. It's not about celebrities. It's about remembering the people who made us better and choosing to act like they're still watching. Standing ovation. No one sat down for a full minute. Scene 5. The kids carry on in classrooms across the country. Teachers started a new assignment. Bring something that represents who you carry. Kids brought shoelaces, teddy bears, spoons, old baseball caps. In one classroom, a little boy brought a dog collar and said, "This is from Barkley. He taught me to love stuff even when it's messy, like my mom's pancakes." Everyone cried. Another kid brought a drawing of a necklace and said, "I don't have one, but I want to make one for someone I'll carry someday." Scene 6. Chase Delaney's final broadcast. 3 years after the interview, Chase Delaney stepped away from television. On his final broadcast, he didn't cry. He didn't joke. He just sat in a chair and looked into the camera. People say you can't change the world with a story, but maybe you can change a person. And maybe that person carries it forward, like Keanu did, like Lila did, like all of you did. And that's enough. That's everything. His final episode faded out to black. Then faded into a still photo. Lila's drawing. Neo and a little girl on a motorcycle. Scene 7. Keanu's last letter. Years later, after a quiet and private passing of Keanu Reeves peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by friends, his estate released a letter found among his personal effects. It was addressed to anyone who's still carrying. It read, "Grief never ends because love doesn't either." If you're reading this, maybe you've lost someone. Maybe you wear something they gave you. Maybe you talk to them when no one's around. That's okay. Keep doing that. We don't move on from love. We move forward with it. Carry well. Scene 8. The real legacy. The cross remains at the museum, but its copies are everywhere. On keychains, on lockets, on tattoos, on hearts. It's not about silver. It's about memory. The necklace wasn't magical, but it carried magic, because someone believed it could. A little girl gave it away, so someone else could be brave, and a quiet man kept that promise. The end.